Welcome everybody to Groomer on the Loose, where we break out of our salons and our mobiles to let our passions, conversations, and our experiences run wild. We're your hosts. I'm Holly Baker.
I'm Alicia Mulak, and this is our pilot episode where we're going to cover the many ways to get into the grooming industry, the types of salons you may come across, how to get loose out of the salon, and an introductory dive into the trade show world of grooming.
Before we get started, let's get loose with our mocktails and our cocktails. So I understand not everybody drinks, but that just because you don't have a cocktail doesn't mean you can't have a fantastic non-alcoholic mocktail. So the drinks that we're drinking is I am doing a Bailey's strawberry and cream. So it's kind of like a pink mudslide, if you will. So it's made with vanilla vodka. And then I did the Bailey's heavy cream and then give it a good shake over some ice with a little bit of Hershey's strawberry syrup and put it in this glass with some little fancy sprinkles for Valentine's Day and a strawberry. And I muddled a lot of strawberries in it.
We have here a pink Valentine's Day drink. It's got sparkles in it.
Yeah. You see, oh, there you go.
I can see it. So this is Sprite and pink lemonade and pink sparkles, edible
strawberries,
and then like strawberries.
Yeah.
So, and we have a nice little sugar rim with pink
strawberry or sprinkles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's get loose.
I like how this isn't glass.
Oh no, it is glass.
Oh, it is. I feel like glass.
No, it's glass.
I don't want to break.
Hope all of you, wherever you are listening to this podcast, or if you're viewing on YouTube, that you got yourself a mocktail or cocktail before you joined us on this. It was so good.
Yeah, this is nice.
It's so good. Perfect. Tell me, Alicia, how did you get started in grooming?
I actually started as a bather. So I went into you too. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us start off.
Yeah. I was like 15 and I wanted a job because my mom gave me a car and I needed gas money to pay for the car.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to work in the animal industry. I actually was going to go be I wanted to study wolves. So I wanted to study wolf behavior and go in the wild and all that. So I thought dogs were a great start. And so I went to go.
I could see you with wolves.
Yeah, I went to go see a groomer, got a job as a bather, and then eventually went to a school in Illinois. It was called the Academy of Dog Grooming Arts.
That's kind of a fun name.
Yeah.
I like that.
So we actually spent 2 weeks in a classroom, not touching a single dog.
Okay.
For the first 2 weeks, where it was all pen and paper. We went over diseases and types of like breeds, what a haircut is, how a follicle works, so we went a deep dive into like what is grooming essentially. Yeah. And then we were in after that we graduated into a bathing situation where we did bath dogs such as huskies, labs, pits, and then we upgraded to Goldens, collies, Aussies.
Yeah.
And then once we got out of the bathing area, then we were into haircuts. And I actually had to pass a terrier test, a sporting dog test, a curly coat test, and a drop coat.
Oh, very cool.
And then I also had to take a written test, and I had to make an essay of a rare breed and how to haircut them, which I picked the Dandy Didn't.
Well, I like.
That's how I got started.
I only laugh because I didn't even know what a Danny Dinmont Terrier really was until she brought it up, and now I own one,
and I don't.
So, but that's my dandy story is actually a long story that involves Sierra over. So, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
How did you get started?
I got started because so I am a gamer by nature. I loved a video game, and my parents liked a video game, but they were like, and I like to play hooky at school. So my mom and dad would let me stay home sometimes if we were stuck on like a different level, and like we would all skip work and school together to game. So like I am raised in a family of gamers. So I didn't want to go to school because I had a test due that I didn't study for. And I was just 16. And I went down to I went all the way to a place called Way Park, and it was like a 4 block. So there was like a sports store, a PetSmart, and whatever. I don't even remember. It was some furniture store that closed down, that was like super dramatic and whatever. Because the guy like embezzled the company and stuff. It was actually like, yeah, it was like a whole thing in Minnesota. But so anyway, I digress. I went to the sports store, put in an application. My mom was like, you can't come home until you have an interview. Like, and my mom knows I'm a determined person. So like, she sets like a boundary like that. I'll do it. So I was like, I will just go anywhere until they give me an interview. So I went to the first one. They didn't have the hiring manager. I filled out an application. Then I went to PetSmart. And they were like, we do interviews every Tuesday. I was like, perfect. So I was home within the hour. And my mom's like, you already have an interview? I was like, well, duh. Like, come on. So I did. I went and did the interview, and they hired me initially as a cashier. And then like immediately I started selling stuff right away, and they realized I was gifted with sales. And so I fought my way to grooming because they wanted to put me into their departments and stuff because of the sales. And then I was really determined to be a garbage bag bather. So because back then we had to wear black pants and we had these black like so I was covering my garbage.
I've worn those.
Yeah. So I had to have like a windbreaker. So I had like basketball like windbreaker pants. So I just
we've all gone through that phase where we've worn those pants in a grooming salon.
Yeah. Just like a trash bag. Just yeah, so that's how it started. And then I was a bather for a while, but yeah. I went to college to be a vet tech in high school. I did one of those, what do they call those? Post whatever. But I did it in school. So I was a senior in high school starting vet tech school. And then I worked at PetSmart too. So yeah, that's how it began. But I really refused to become a groomer because I was like, just looking at how they tug, and I was like, I'll stay as a bather, thank you. So I stayed a bather for like almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bather, I think, for a couple years before. I
just didn't want to graduate to the scissoring.
I graduated high school, and then the groomer I worked for went to that academy, and then was like, well, this is where I went. And I was like, I'll go be a groomer for you. I'm going to go to this academy. Yeah. And it was only like 3 months. Like, I think we had to have like 150 dogs groomed. And I think it was like 200 hours. We did there or something. Yeah. Like, so when I attended, right. So this is like way back in the early 2000s. So like when I went, which is so crazy because like I just hired somebody this week that the year I graduated grooming school, they were born. Oh, geez. Is that really real? I'm that old. Yeah. But we did. So it was different than the programs they have now. Yeah. I had to do like the long-legged terrier, the short-legged terrier. They called those body contour grooms back then. And it was the one length all over with like trim face, trim tail. So they called those body contours. And then there was like the curly coat. I had to do a curly coat. But you had to do 20 of each section. Oh. So however many grooms that was, it was 20 of those specific haircuts. And it came out to be, and then you also had to achieve 200 grooms. So whether it be in any of those categories, you had to also breach 200 grooms, which was actually a challenge for some of those salons. Like yes. I had to travel to other salons. So my whole career, that's like a whole different thing. We'll get there. But like I have always been a traveling groomer. Like I did it for the company for years, and which was really cool because I got to experience a lot. And that's probably what made my passion for doing it now. On a global scale. So how many years have you been grooming? March will be 21. 21 years? 21 years. Nice. Yeah. But that's bathing in hair. Like I'm a big believer that I believe if you're a bather, like that can do nails, ears, prep, everything, that's a huge part of the groom. Yeah. And that's such an important part of the groom that to me, they're groomers. Yeah. They're like, when people don't call them groomers, they might not be a pet stylist, right? Where they cut hair or do some of that. But bathers are nothing to scoff at. They are groomers in my eyes. They just aren't pet stylists. They're not the cosmetologist part of it. Yeah. So, yeah. Because that's my personal belief. Yeah, I totally agree. So then I've been in the industry or grooming for 16 years then. Gosh, that's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy how fast it goes. It really is, because that was like before I got out of high school. Yeah. So another way to get into the grooming industry is I know of people that have gone and done apprentices. So or apprenticeships where you have a groomer in a salon that says, oh, I will teach you how to groom as you work at my salon. Yeah. And so there's a couple different ways these go. I know once the apprentice paid the groomer X amount, and then the groomer would just teach them until they felt like they were ready to then work in the salon, or a working apprenticeship where the groomer puts you to work through the steps. Like you start as the bather, then you do nail trims, then you do this, and then you just work your way up. And so it's a paid apprenticeship rather than you paying for schooling. Yeah. And I know there's a couple different ways to do that.
Well, and I'm so excited. So we're going to be talking about this on a future episode because in a couple of weeks, we get to interview Sierra Albert, and Rachel Coolant will be on there. And I'm so excited to sit down with them because they're actually talking about that. They've partnered with the U.S. Department of Labor, who you would have like for an electrician, or you would have for it's plumbing. So they have done this partnership program where they actually can work for an approved certified mentor through AKC. They're going to have this program. So I'm looking at doing it for my own staff. And I'm so excited because I love Groom curriculum. I think it's a fantastic program. She's very gifted, and it was well done. It's well done. And so what I'm really excited about is that it has a structure where they will work for the learning, and then they'll have a couple of paid days. And then as they work for you, you can increase that. So I'm really excited. We'll dive more into that when Sierra joins us, which I'm so excited for.
There are a lot of different kinds of grooming salons out there.
Yeah.
Like I'm a mobile. I have actually one of the Wagon Tails conversions. I have the Elite, which is a bus. Essentially, it's
so nice. We've actually worked on it together comfortably, both creative competition wise.
Yeah. And grooming. Yeah. Pet grooming. Cause
it's so nice.
I do a lot of big dogs. I've got Newfoundlands and Great Pyrenees, and I do a Great Dane Doodle.
And a Roddy that looks like it ate other Roddies.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Huge.
Yeah,
huge.
They're big dogs, the ones I have. And they're
it's so crazy because it's so much adrenaline, like trying to put a 200-pound dog in a tub. That's like, you're not lifting me up on that table. You're going ground up, girls.
Yeah. Ground up. Yeah, he didn't want to get in the tub that time. I usually do him solo, so
what made it that much better is that he like snaps at you, so it's like a lot of it. You feel alive grooming. Who needs caffeine when you got a Roddy that's like, I'm gonna take your place?
Yeah.
But I like this groomer. I don't like you, chick.
Yeah, he likes me, and I found that out. I just thought I
love Rottweilers, and he didn't love me back.
And it's funny because she had like the owner had told me that he didn't like previous groomers, and I just thought like, oh, he likes me, I'm good. I didn't even think anything of it bringing you on the bus with me.
And I was like, girl, I love Rottweilers. And he was like, nah, girl, I don't like you.
Yeah. So
I was like, really love me. And he's like, do you have a treat?
Yeah. So I also
like, you got 200 pounds for a reason, bro.
Yeah. And he's not even my biggest dog. So I have he's a bull mastiff Irish wolfhound mix.
Oh, really?
And he's huge. The last time I had to have Dad come on the bus to help me get him into the tub because I cannot lift him. Like, he's the biggest dog I've ever seen. Big.
That's so crazy.
And so I know there's other kinds of mobiles out there. There's smaller
I have the trailer. So Alex and I decided on a truck and trailer combination because I loved grooming in yours, but I wanted even more space because I would like to use my trailer I do AKC confirmation shows. And so there's several of us that kind of come in and out. So I went with a Renown grooming trailer. And I do love it. Struggles a little in the winter, but I love it overall. So truck and trailer.
Yeah. There's also in-home where, so people have the salon in their house, and that can be some people have a room for it. Some people have redone their garages. And I know some people that have like a shed in their backyard.
Yeah.
Or even on their property.
Yeah.
And that's how they do their grooming.
Yep. And you're a groomer from Illinois.
Yes.
Yeah. You groom in the Chicagoland area.
Yes.
And I groom on the northwest suburbs of the Twin Cities. And so in Minnesota, we have a rule that like they have to have a separate entrance if you're going to do it in home. Like there is a lot of rules for it. So, but I've seen some pretty rough ones and I've seen some pretty cute grooming salons. I mean, they can really turn those garages. My favorite is like the mini sheds, though.
Yeah.
People that have like the she shed grooming salons kill me.
I love when they look like Pinterest perfect.
Yes, I live for it. I keep fantasizing about doing it in my own grooming salon. So my favorite is there's actually like there's a Facebook group that goes over like fancy grooming salons and stuff. And I can't remember it. If I remember it, I'll put it on our Facebook page, like a tag to it. But I love when people first person perspective, like open my grooming salon with me.
I did one of those videos for my mobile.
Like MTV Cribs, but for grooming salons.
I did a join me for a day of mobile grooming.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
So I did a rabbit, and then like it was really satisfying to like vacuum up all the rabbit hair on the ground, and then
which is a pain in the butt.
I did 3 Goldens that day. And I did a cat. So, and it was like, you watched me turn on my generator, turn on my water pump. This is how I use my super sudsor.
There's something so satisfying about like the first person perspective.
Yeah.
Of those. Yeah, those are really good.
It's really cute because in it, I have a golden retriever that gives, like, I go like this and he just puts his paw right in my hand. Oh. So I picked like the perfect day to do it.
Yeah. I have a cavalier that like hugs me while grooming, and I'm like, okay, you can do this.
I have a cat that, his name's Mochi. He's my favorite. And he sits right here and I blow dry him up on my shoulder.
I've seen that cat. So
Mochi's my favorite. But
so cute. So I used to be a vet groomer. I groomed at a vet clinic. So I didn't groom a ton of dogs. I only had to do like 1 or 2. Mostly it was actually cats. I think a lot of groomers are afraid. They are. I mean, they get angsty, but there is nothing that will give you more adrenaline grooming something. Then, and people think it's so easy. Like, oh, you sedate everything, you know? One, you don't know how the haircut's actually going to look. It's going to look like shit because that dog is like, like it is like a dead body. It feels really weird to have like a dead. And then the worst part is both dogs and cats, right? They give you the freaking crazy eye because they can like move their eye, dude.
I didn't know that.
You do have to like lubricate their eye and just make sure because they can't.
In my head, they're like asleep with a feeding tube.
No.
Their
ass is just like sedated enough to like twitch their eye at you.
Oh my gosh!
And look at you and like threaten your life. So you'll get like a cat that just goes, and the dogs do it too. Like, so, and then when they start to wake up, because you only have to sedate them enough just to get it done. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a veterinarian clinic, like, I think the whole team, we don't want to sedate a pet longer than necessary.
Yeah.
So you want them to be down quick and back up right away, because of risks and whatnot. So, like, when they start to, like, twitch, you're like, oh, shit. Oh. So, like, you have to go through a whole coaching process. Like, even if I'm the most talented groomer in the world, grooming a corpse is like, I mean, that's what it feels like, because they're literally, like, there's nothing to it. Because, like, think of how you have to, like, stand the dog to, like, look and see if things are even. You cannot do that in this scenario. They're, like, and it's just, and then they're drooling half the time on themselves. It's not pretty. Vet groomers, you can tell me what you think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I struggle.
Here's a segment that I don't know. We can talk about this at another time. And if you do this, like, let us know.
Yeah,
I actually know somebody, or I used to talk to them, who used to do end of life grooms after the dog had passed.
No way.
Yes.
No way. Really?
Yes.
Like, so, like a taxidermy?
I did actually work with a taxidermist. So, yes, she was wonderful. I loved her.
Wow.
But
that's crazy.
Yes, also somebody that would groom dogs before they got put in the ground because they had like funeral services. So if you do that or have done that, like, let us know. I want to talk to more people about it because I didn't get to talk to her for very long.
Small plug, groomer on the loose at gmail.com is ours. So if you ever have things that you want to send us, like, please, we're here for it.
Yeah.
We're here to be your voices. We will read your content. Don't worry.
Yeah. So, and then,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I know there's other kinds of groomings like house call where people go to the house, and it's not mobile because they don't have the salon outside the house.
No,
you actually go into a client's home.
Have you done?
Yeah, I used to. When I lived in Canada, I would go around and groom in people's houses in Canada. And one of the hardest things that I found was where to wash the dog. Because half the time you're doing it in like their mudroom.
Wash them?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to do it in like their mudroom sink. usually, so that the hair doesn't get into their bathtub.
The utilities thing.
Yes. And at the time, I can't remember if it was a flying pig or a commander, Air Force. Oh, I think it was Air Force commander. It's this orange dryer I got. I can't remember if it was Pet Edge. I got it on, and I called it. We called it the Whisper 3000 because
that literally sounds like some shit out of Harry Potter.
it like
I've got the Firebolt 3000.
It had a little on and off. It was like this big, and it had a really long hose, and you could turn it on with a variable dryer, and it also said heat or no heat, and it blew out a dog, but it took you a very long time to blow it out because there was not a lot of air coming out of it.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I'm so spoiled because like my 1-cylinder, like variable with heat, no heat, like my airless ones are like boom, like 8 minutes that dog's done. Like,
it did what I needed it to do, but now that I have like the K9 3s with the
I literally want to make you a shirt that says like RIP Whisper 3000.
Oh, we still have it. And we still it doesn't blow breakers.
Maybe we'll do it
so we can use it in our house. So like I tell my husband like, oh my gosh, or like say one of our dogs like rolled in mud and he wants to wash the dog and we have to dry it a little bit. Yep.
Tom's actually over here, so I guess hear him off. Oh, so for those that can't hear him, Tom just said that he blows off
his computer keyboard with our. That's how not powerful it is. Duster. It's not even as powerful as those air dusters. But it worked. I did a dachshund.
At least you're not blowing the break.
Yeah, I did a long hair dachshund. I did a Maltese, a Shih Tzu, a Westie. So it's not like I couldn't do a golden with it. Our standard poodles probably took 2 hours to dry with it. You know, but I would bring that to people's homes. And I also didn't have a table, so I would groom on their like kitchen counter.
Well, so when I first was trying to hustle, like as a baby groomer, like I would go into people's garages and stuff, and like what killed me is like they would have to like clear their big 20. You know, Minnesota, we have a lot of voting's huge for us. They'd have to move the 20-foot yacht, bring it out of my way, and then I would groom a dog for $35. I made them bathe the dog,
okay,
and then I would just give the haircut. Now prep work. I think a lot of people in my first season of grooming, they'll tell you.
First season.
Yeah, like the first competitive season.
Oh, okay.
Like you were a witness as well as other people.
I liked your little Yorkie.
Oh yeah. That was the first time. Okay, so that's like a whole different story. But, like I would say my first season of grooming, I didn't really understand prep work the way I thought. Like 19 years of grooming, and I didn't understand. Like I was a pet groomer for 19 years. Like I talked to Jonathan David actually about it. Like him and I talked about it, and he was able to relate to me. So I would love to have him on at some point. But him and I were talking about it because I was like, I just didn't know.
Yeah.
For 19 years of my career, my job was to put out as many pets and grooms that looked as cute as possible, but fast and efficient. So like, it wasn't until I started continuing education and I got in there with that Yorkie that I figured out like, I don't know shit about grooming. I don't know anything about grooming. Like, I think I do, but like, I'm great as a pet groomer, but being a full-bodied groomer is way deeper.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
we'll touch on that.
But and then COVID, obviously. I had to do a lot of like people would come to my house and get on my kitchen counter. But yeah, no. Bringing my freaking grooming table to people's houses and trying to groom the dog, like, oh my gosh, this is the worst.
Yeah. One of the other.
I feel spoiled with mobile grooming now.
Yeah, mobile grooming is so nice.
Because they're like, you get out of here, go on out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other, I used to work, so there's storefront too. And there's a lot of different types of brick and mortars. Because you own a few salons.
Yes. So I have 3 grooming salons. I have a very large grooming salon. That's over 3,000 square feet. And that we actually do events in that grooming salon. And then I have a little bit smaller one where that's like 1,200 square feet. And then I have a very tiny salon that's more 2-person. So it's very intimate. We shared that space with a full-blown amazing dog training. It's an academy. And they do very large classes going from obedience to therapy dog to agility. but they do obedience rallies and everything. It's incredible. It's an amazing partnership. So those are the 3 brick and mortar styles that I have, and then we do the mobile.
Okay, yeah.
So different for sure.
Yeah, and I used to work at a self-serve dog wash that then added dog grooming into it. I actually met them because the owner, who wasn't a groomer, she just opened a self-serve dog wash. Her daughter went to the same grooming school as me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had a class of, I think, 3 people in my class. And then the class that came in after that was 17 people.
Okay, side topic. Did you stay connected with that group that you want? I loved the girls that I went. I still keep track of them a little bit, like of where they are today.
I have, and it's been almost
really okay.
Yeah, and
we all made bracelets for each other, you guys, and I still have my bracelet. So if they're still listening to this podcast, I have your bracelet, guys. I think of the bumblebee. I think of all of your tattoos.
Yeah,
like, we each got a thing that represented each of us from our academy.
Oh,
so that
nice.
we can keep it for life. So I still have it. Maybe I'll put it on the podcast.
Yeah, like
I love the shit out of my academy.
Yeah, I tried a little bit, but I forgot one of their names, unfortunately. And
well, it's been a long time. Yeah, how many years?
14 years.
Yeah, I mean,
15 years. It's been 14 and a half since I graduated, something like that. But yeah, so that was a self-serve dog wash that people would come in and wash their dogs while we were separated by like a retail section, and then we'd be grooming.
Yeah.
So, and it was actually really nice because I ended up like making connections with the customers that would come in to wash their pets.
Okay.
So like we had this one guy that I think he showed, it was Russian Blues.
Okay.
The cats, and he would come in and do vinegar baths on them.
The hell's a vinegar bath?
So
what's a vinegar bath?
Like a vinegar.
Has anybody else heard this? I've heard of bleaching baths, which that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But
I think it was like dilute vinegar so he'd wash the cat and then he'd dilute vinegar, rinse the cat in it, and it like strips coat. People swear it helps dry the coat and it makes the coat better.
If you're listening on YouTube,
I know
please make a comment on this. Have you guys ever heard of a vinegar bath? Am I alone? Has anybody heard of a vinegar bath? Seriously.
I know
anybody?
There's actually been a couple
I've never heard of this until now.
I have to look it up. I don't remember exactly, but
I mean, it's a good cleaning agent. I just am like on the coat.
The biggest argument I've seen with it on some of like the grooming forums is, does it actually damage the coat in the long run?
I mean, this is like the Blue Devil Dawn dish soap.
Yeah.
Dish soap your dog
like, so yeah, vinegar and Dawn it's a very similar argument, actually.
I know that vinegar is used to like clean shampoo bottles. Like I was talking to somebody because I dish soap ours every night and stuff, and they were like, oh, vinegar is a really good one, because it's safe. I mean, that's why we use it for fish tanks and stuff.
I throw it down my drains.
Yeah, I'm huge into the pet industry in general, right? Like I have a ton of experience with reptiles, birds, guinea pigs, small animals, exotics, and vinegar is our go-to cleaning agent. So I guess it makes sense, but it's
I don't know that
I mean, I guess it would be a stripping agent, right? Because
I think
we do apple vinegar hair for like stripping oil.
Yeah, I mean,
we shouldn't probably do it. Does he just do it before shows?
I think he just did it before shows. I didn't.
Okay, I didn't.
This is another segment.
Science.
Yeah,
Alicia and I love science, so we'll have to.
Yeah,
we could talk about.
Well, yeah.
Oh
so it was nice because we would get to talk to him, and we just formed a relationship with regulars that would come in once a week to wash their dog. And the hardest part is, people. The owner would actually charge people who made a giant mess.
Good.
So like if they like blew out their dog and it was just hair everywhere and they didn't try to clean it at all, she would charge extra for it because
good.
Yeah.
She's as you should. Girl Scout honor, you leave it cleaner than you found it. You know what I mean? Were you ever Girl Scout?
Yes, my mom is one of the Vista coordinators for the Chicagoland area suburbs.
Okay, so you understand. You find a camping site, you weren't even there. You weren't even there.
But and then I also used to work in a free run salon where there's like a dog daycare, but they're running around your feet while you're working. And that is such a different atmosphere. If you
opened a brick and mortar right now, because you're just mobile now, but you've been brick and mortar, would you do it? Would you open? How would you do it?
If I opened a brick and mortar, I would likely not do free run.
Okay.
Only because it did come with its own headaches. And like one of the biggest things you have to watch out for are jumpers. Quote unquote.
What's a jumper?
And a jumper is a dog that can jump the counter and run out the door.
Oh.
And so like the salon I worked at had a very good safety.
That's probably one of the biggest traumas I've ever dealt with.
Yeah. So and that could be another
a dog getting out the door.
I'm sure we've all had that. I've actually had quite.
I've only had, I think, one in my career where it happened at my store, and it was hell.
Yes.
We all spent, every single person on the, like, we all spent time looking for that dog.
Yeah.
And it was found. It was alive. Like, end of story, like, for that story. Yeah. Dog was okay.
I have a couple of those. But yeah, they had a huge tall counter. Like, it came up to, like, here. That's how big the counter was when you're standing. So, like, there was
a good 5 foot.
Yeah, there was no way, like, I would say no way, but every so often you'll get a dog that can jump it.
Breed.
Yeah. And then they had, like, a double gate on either side. And so there was checks and points so that a dog could not get out.
Yes.
You know?
So because of that alone.
That was one of the reasons. And then, you know, you need to actually have a dedicated employee to watch the dogs like a daycare, because you know, you have to make sure you're watching dog body language constantly, making sure the dogs that are in the population,
they can't help it.
Yeah, dogs potty everywhere, so somebody's got to constantly clean it. You want to make sure whoever's in the we called it Gen Pop.
I mean, it is.
Whoever's in Gen Pop is getting along with each other, and if somebody's not getting happy with another, you have to be right in there to separate right away. And that one, nope, you're getting put into isolation because sorry, you can't hang with your friends. Yeah. So it's like you need to have somebody constantly watching that, and so that's an extra employee right there.
Well, it's another layer.
Yeah, but
I'm such a safety person, so like this stress, and obviously like. In my salon, I recommend things like Bordetella and everything like that. You know, we verify rabies is kind of the big one. Right?
Well, by Illinois law, they have to have rabies.
Yeah, in the city of Big Lake, where my biggest salon is, they actually have to have rabies and distemper.
Okay,
like that's actually a city law. So there's a few layers of that, and I know that distemper is making its way to becoming like just as important as rabies, because of the distemper. Distemper in cats is actually ridiculous. It's horrible if you've ever seen it. But yeah, so I get really animated about dogs coming nose to nose just from a health standard standpoint. So we choose no interaction at all in my salons.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen the worst of what comes from nose to nose, sneezing on each other. So we don't play that game.
Yeah.
We don't do it from a health standpoint.
One of the nice things about it was, though, is like if you have a dog that is like just kind of fed up with being on the table and like you're not done with the haircut.
Yeah.
I could put the dog down. It could go run and play with its friends for a little while. It could come back up and jump on me. I'm like, oh, I like you. Yeah. Pet, pet, pet. And then it runs away and goes plays with its friends. I'm working on a different dog. And then I can put that dog back up and we've reset.
Yeah.
And that was one of the nicest things about that is like, I also get to enjoy the dog just being itself.
Yeah. And what's nice is you can see the reflection of the groom. But sometimes I don't even get the satisfaction of like, I get so anal and caught up on the perfection of the groom that until they leave, I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't do that bad. Because I always beat myself up as a groomer. I'm like, oh, I just wish this hair laid like that. And then they walk away and I was like, what was I worried about? Like, that looks great.
Yeah. So it was nice seeing it walk around. You're like, well, I guess all that. And then 2 is because if you put it down and then it's walking around and you look at it, you're like, ooh, I forgot that hair. But you can't see that when it's sitting in a cage. Yeah. And then I know there's another kind of grooming, which is like corporate and big store, chain stores.
Yeah, it's my bread and butter. That's probably why I'm so anal about safety. Because in corporate salons, we're absolutely built for that. We're looking at everything has to be safe. The human has to be safe. We have to be safe. So that's like built into my nature to look at everything from a medical and a safety standpoint first. And go, is the groomer safe? Are we safe? You know, is everybody happy, hunky dory? And then, you know, which I mean, very grateful for that experience. And even as a mentor and a teacher now, I really emphasize, because I don't think that there's anything worse as a groomer than if you ever injure a dog. There's no worse feeling than feeling like, dang it, I cut the dog. Like, that is literally the shittiest feeling that you can land on.
Well, it's hard to remember.
If something goes wrong, there's nothing more terrifying than I've had, unfortunately, because of the type of career I had, I dealt with dog deaths and I dealt with the really hard stuff. Like that was what I did huge in my career, was help, you know, up to 18 grooming salons at once deal with those problems. And I'd have to review, revisit, camera, all of this stuff. It was a really difficult part of my career, but I'm very grateful because now as a teacher and as a mentor, I can help aid people through those really tough experiences. There's nothing worse than, like I had a dog that died in our grooming salon. It literally was getting a nail trim. We've done the dog a million times, clipping its nails. It threw a blood clot straight to its heart. Oh now, I'm very grateful that we have a CPR certified stylists that were able to perform CPR on the way. I literally was around the corner, was able to grab the dog. We immediately rushed it right to the vet. They immediately received us. I mean, we're talking maybe less than 10 minutes. But unfortunately, the minute I saw the dog, I knew just from my previous history. But there's nothing worse than that. So I'm grateful for my corporate experience. I really, really am. I know people like give it so much shade, but it's like all that trauma does help.
Yeah. It's all learning experiences.
Yes.
And it helps you be able to educate others when
it's the part that makes us hate our jobs, which is why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that segue.
Yeah.
How do you get loose? Because the job is stressful.
Yes.
It can be. It's so emotional, whether it's something that's in your salon, a rough confrontation. Damn it, why'd you cut the hair? I had a lady that once tripped out and started crying over a groomer. One of my fellow groomers like cut the hair, and like our poor like salon manager was on maternity leave, and like I had like what we call core manager, so it's somebody that does like product. Was like okay, and so I had to step in because I'm me, and I was like the most senior groomer. And she was like, dude, it's a freaking hair.
I've had somebody cry over haircut.
Yeah, I mean, like, she was like uncontrollably sobbing. And I'm like, it's hair.
Yeah, it was.
In 6 weeks it's back. Like, to the length you came in.
Yeah, well, even like, because mine was interesting because it was a lady who, we like went over the haircut. We're like, so you want half the length off of what your dog has now. You want half the length cut off. We're doing a haircut all over half the length.
Okay.
Off. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And as I get in there, I go, something's telling me don't do it that short. So I end up taking our 1-inch guard comb. So one of the longer haircuts you can do.
Oh, 1 inch is a long haircut.
And it took maybe about a quarter of what the dog had off. So not half.
Okay.
And she came crying in saying I shaved the dog.
Seriously?
Yeah, and she was crying, inconsolable. I have now ruined
over that little.
I have ruined this vacation that they were about to take to the beach. Yeah, I did. That was one of the thankfully at the time my boss came in and was able to handle that because I was still new and didn't know.
The instance I was talking about, I was a really callous person in my life at that time. I was like 22. And I literally had like very little bedside manner, we'll call it. And so I literally looked at the lady and I said, are you seriously crying over dog hair? Like now I would handle that much differently now because I'm much more acclimated. I've had a lot of terrible experiences. And so I've learned a lot of bedside manner in the last, 15 years since then. But damn, yeah, I was just because like, sometimes I literally was like, I looked at her husband and I said, she's crying over dog hair. You know that, right? She's crying over something that's going to be back in 6 weeks. And we're talking about like it was like something similar. I was like, it was one blade length off from what she had asked for.
And what blade length is an eighth of an inch?
She wanted it to feel a little shorter. So they went one blade length shorter. I think any one of us would have been like, okay, we'll just take it one shorter.
Yeah.
And she like lost it. But I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was like a white dog. I think it was a Maltese.
Oh, so
which going from like a 4 to a 5 is a big deal.
Yes,
because then you shave the colic on the chest, right? Like, and in a pet grooming world, you're not tailoring that. You're not going over it. You're not scissoring. You're taking one length all over. And so she just lost it. And was like, I can see its skin. And I'm like, and in a week you won't. Like, honey, hold on. So, and you're okay.
And this is why we do have some of the highest burnout rates in the industry.
We do.
Because
of these,
a lot of it is client interaction. Dogs sometimes can be stressful to work with because they're are untrained. Nice.
Yeah.
They just particularly don't like what we're doing to them sometimes, especially if they're not desensitized to the
Could be
process.
rescues or
we don't know what the previous history was like. So burnout is high in the grooming industry, in the pet
separation
industry.
anxiety, in my opinion, is at an all-time high, especially after COVID.
Yes.
So whenever, like, dogs beforehand were trained to be apart from their owners, and ever since, I feel like, I don't know about you, but from COVID on, getting the client and the dog separated, that like takes a whole moment for the dog to be like, but I keep saying it. I've started the filming process. But I have a lot of dogs that will make their owner feel so guilty when they're leaving, like, and like yanking towards them. And then the minute they're out the door, they're like, hey, what's up, Holly? Like, and the dog loves me. They're like, oh yeah, I was just lying about that. Like, don't worry about that. I was just trying to make
one of my favorites. I have to find
stinker.
I have to find the video, and I'll tag the creator of the video.
Okay.
Somebody actually like sent a video to like the grooming forums about it, and it was this German Shepherd. They were checking in, and the owner like was crawling after the owner, and the owner was like, "Oh no, you're fine, you're fine." And then the groomer was like, "Turn around and walk out." And the dog will be fine.
Watch you leave.
And you watch this German Shepherd pull and pull and pull to go at its owner, like crying its head off. And the moment that the owner walks out the door closes behind it, German Shepherd stops, looks at the groomer, and walks right into the grooming salon.
Yeah. Okay. So I filmed 2 so far. I've got 2 segments of this because they do it to their owner every time. The minute they're gone, they're like, "Oh, what's up, girl? How you doing?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, "What the hell? Why do you make her feel bad?"
Yeah.
Like, I see you. Do you see me?
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah. And definitely.
Well, I just found it interesting. So I really looked in depth over this whole statistic about burnout, because when I went to vet tech school, the very first day I went to vet tech school, they were like, just so you know, it was like almost that they wanted us to quit. It felt like a boot camp. It was called, the class was called Introduction to Veterinarian Technology. And the first thing they hit is the statistic. They were like, and now remember, in veterinarian technology, you're regulated. You have to take state boards. They know how many groomers there are. We're not regulated. So there's no way. And we just went over how many different ways you can groom.
Yeah.
So there's no way to track us as groomers. So I cannot find the true burnout statistic, but in veterinary technology, it's 7 years. So if really that's for a medical, when you're spending like over $30,000 to $50,000 on your education, and now grooming, who knows? What I do know is that most of the contracts that are out there and available to you to sign for mentorship, to like receive the education, they say it's 2 years until you feel like you've got it. You won't quit. Yeah. Because I think when you're a baby groomer, like I would quit like almost every day. And so if it wasn't for my contract, my 2-year contract, I would have quit. Like, because it's so, I'm a perfectionist. So like it was a constant beating up and self-deprecation of being like, I'm not good enough, whatever. And then if you cut a dog, oh my gosh, you are never going to be a groomer again. Like, oh my gosh, I could not stop crying. Cut a schnauzer ear, of course. Yeah. One of the top 5 spots you can cut. Yeah. And of course, the schnauzer of all things. And I went home weeping. I was like, no, I was supposed to be the magical unicorn groomer that never got a dog ever in my life. So anyway.
Well, so how do you monitor that burnout then to get loose and make sure you're not burning out?
So I think it was different in different stages. I don't know about you. You and I have been grooming since we were like 15 and 16 years old.
Yeah.
So let me rephrase the question back to you. In different stages of your life, what kept you going? Because we experience as people, I think, different things, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't have kids until I was almost 30. So my 20s look a lot different than a lot of other people's 20s. So like what kept me going was my career drive in my 20s.
Yes.
I wanted to keep ascending. So like I went a little outside. So like I had to actually be a manager of different departments in the pet industry, but I always had to groom. So like I would stock pet food and then half the day I would groom. Like I literally would mix it up. So that mix up of learning more than just grooming and more of the full body encompassing the veterinary technology education, I would say at its core has always been my overarching theme. Whenever I feel like I'm being educated and learning, it makes me feel like I'm growing and moving forward in my career. And so for me, education has always been key.
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things that always kept me going was actually competitions, because that was something I knew
That's
I
new
wanted
for
to.
me.
That was
Yeah.
something I knew
You've
I
done it a
wanted
lot
to
longer
do.
than I have.
Not too much longer, but it like when I first got into dog grooming, like when I was in school, All American was happening at the same time as me getting into dog grooming school.
Because that's like in your backyard.
Because
like,
it's in my backyard.
All-American for me is like 7 hours away.
Yeah, for me it was. At the time I was living in Hoffman Estates, and it was in it was actually at the Westin in Arlington Heights.
Oh, okay, so it's kind of nearby.
So yeah, it was
Not
right.
too far
It
off.
was right there.
Okay.
So the school actually paid for us to go,
I
and
love
that's
that.
where
Your school sounds so good.
It was absolutely wonderful. I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
But if I ever did a dog grooming school, it'd be based off that. Honestly, it was such a great way.
Thorough. I liked it. So my experience in a corporate salon. I don't know how much we went over that, but for me, I was put up in a hotel for 4 weeks, and I actually was in a hotel, and I had a mentor groomer who I was very appreciative. She owned her own salon and then needed more corporate benefits and stuff as she, for, Social Security, whatever. And so she had been grooming forever and then retired, moved corporate, and was such an amazing academy instructor. Loved her to pieces. And like we were talking about earlier, I loved my grooming experience. But then we had to complete like the long-legged terriers, short-legged terriers. Yeah. We had to do all of those. So it was a really great I love learning.
Yeah.
So I liked my experience, but once I went home, I had to take pictures of all of them, get timed, and then we would send it to a master groomer that was like I think it was only in Iowa for me. And then they had to review my book and then approve or disapprove and say, yep, she's either good enough or she's not good enough.
Yeah. And we went to the All American Dog Grooming Show, and I saw creative grooming, and I said, I'm going to do that one day.
Yeah.
And that was
Is that how you got introduced to creative?
Yeah. In 2010, I believe, I can't remember because I took a picture of the dog and a person with the dog.
Okay.
And they did.
So what was the dog?
It was a very Asian style groom with a koi fish on it.
Oh,
it was
pretty.
Pretty. Like, oh my gosh. And then that's where I saw like Cindy Copeland Oliver.
She's very talented.
She's very talented. I took one of her classes.
Yeah.
On
she's so sweet too. She's a really kind person.
And she was one of my absolute idols.
Yeah.
And that was what that was my drive. So I saw that and I was like, all right, now I have goals. My goal in life, number 1, I have to get a house.
Yes.
Number 2, I have to get a dog. Number 3, I will compete with this dog. I got to the house for my dog.
Oh my gosh.
And that was my, I have to straight and narrow. I would work 16 hours a day.
Isn't that crazy what we'll do?
Yeah.
As competitors?
Yeah. And just to try to, but how I would get loose is I'm a gamer. We talked about
gaming.
So I'm a gamer. I would do online games. I used to play World of Warcraft a lot. In high school. I was PvP or PvE where I would do raids and everything. And then we would also do tabletop. So we would do Dungeons and Dragons and board games.
Yes.
And it's really funny because I know this isn't like getting loose, but it is. I would go to work at 6 a.m. and work until sometimes 7 p.m. and then come home and be playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends.
Yes.
And then we'd be playing until 3 o'clock in the morning when I go, oh my gosh, guys, I have to go to sleep.
I am not a night
3 hours.
I'm not a night person.
To go back to work. And then I would go to work and they'd still be playing.
Oh my gosh. I was like that with books.
Okay.
So like when I worked at I worked both at the veterinary hospital and at the as a groomer, and I worked at like an hour away. But I would stay up until like 4 a.m. reading. I read Twilight in a week.
Oh gosh,
the entire Twilight series. So
burnout is so real, right? Like, so we know that burnout is super tough for us. And we looked up a statistic from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, there was a 34% increase in employment in the next couple of years.
Yeah, so by the time we reach 2030, they're expecting 34% increase of a need for our industry. And so, but what's crazy to me is, right, so I had that first experience as a vet tech. They're like, you could burn out in 7 years. Are you going to be the person that doesn't burn out in 7 years? Well, for grooming, I tried so hard to look up the statistic for everybody. And I'm like, I guess I don't know. Like, are we going to be those people? Right? Like, am I going to make it past 7 years? Because really, vet tech is the only one I have. Because whether you're in home, you're mobile, there's no way to track us. There's no way to collect our segment unless we were regulated.
Yeah.
But we're not regulated.
And
So,
I feel like too, you're either in there for a short amount of time, like you don't get past your bathing stage, or you just get into like the 2 years of a groomer stage and then you leave the industry, or you're in there for life.
well,
I really
and I
don't
think
know.
that a lot of that has to do with your environment. So,
would
like,
agree.
when we talk about groomers on the loose, I think your environment really either makes you or breaks you. So finding whether like some groomers do better in mobile because they groom better by themselves. They're independent or they're introverts.
Yeah.
Or I find as a team building person, right? Like my entire career has been around building grooming salons and helping them. So building teams has been really important. And I always find putting a blend of personalities is so key. I can't have too many extroverts. I can't have too many introverts. And I can't have too many of like the middle, but you need to have all three present. You need the people who can work independently. You need the people who can work. Like I'm extroverted. I am 100%. I recharge by being around people. I do. It very rarely would I say that I do better alone. Like there is a time and a place where I like to be alone, but it's very rare. It's not. How about you?
I'm introverted.
Do you feel totally introverted?
I'm
I feel like
one
you're
of those
maybe in the
people.
middle.
I'm one of those people where initially I'm an introvert. If I don't know
Okay.
you, if I don't know where I'm at, I will huddle in a corner, or I will find a safe person that I know who they are, and I will stick by your side because I'm like, hi person, I know who you are because I don't know anything else over here, so you're my safety. I pick a buddy. And then
I'm your buddy.
and then once I start to get to know the area, the people, the environment, that's when I come out.
Yes.
But actually, after working in a couple different like high volume salons with multiple people, being mobile is so nice. Being alone to like, what it is too is we have this network of mobile groomers right now where I can call people and I can like talk to them while I work, and then like sometimes we'll be on the phone for an hour and haven't talked to each other because we're both blow drying big hairy dogs.
Yeah.
And it's just silence on both ends. I'm like, oh yeah, you're on the phone with me. So how'd it go?
Well, I call it my monologue moment. Like when she mutes me or you mute yourself, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You mute yourself and then I have to monologue for her. And I'm like,
you don't have to.
So, I have to fill the void because I'm extroverted. So I can't recharge unless I'm talking or I'm listening to you talk. So she's like, I've got 20 minutes. And I'm like, this is my moment to soapbox. Like, dump it all out.
I love listening.
My monologue. That's why when we're opposite, one is a better listener and one's a better talker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to remind myself, God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I should do more listening, but I'm working on it.
Another way to get loose, and we covered this a little bit, is grooming trade shows. And we're going to do like an introductory dive into them because like I'm a competition creative.
It's a big world.
It's a big world. It's much bigger than the surface you think it is. Yeah. Once you get into it. So
it depends on which show you go to.
Yeah.
Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are overwhelmingly huge.
Yeah. And so like things that you can do at these shows, there's mostly always education is the foundation of these shows is education. Yes. There's competitions, grooming competitions such as breed standard, or breed profile, creative, there's abstract model dog, runway. There's also sometimes team competitions with tag team and duo. Yeah. And there's even smock decorating competitions.
I know, I've done that a couple of times.
Yeah. So
not that I did great at them, but whatever. I tried. I'll be trying again this year.
And another wonderful thing about these shows are the vendors.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of education comes from.
Yes.
Our equipment.
Yes.
Has so much education.
Like, state-of-the-art clippers, new scissors always being come out with different
velocity dryers are not all created equal.
Yes.
Yes.
Brushes and combs, and the sheer amount of different the amount of different brushes and combs and what they all can accomplish.
Yes.
It so much. And another big thing about these shows for me is getting to know other groomers.
The networking is so powerful.
Yes, and there's even like the groomers ball that just happened recently.
They looked really fun.
Yeah, and
I didn't get to go, but
I know a lot of these trade shows have parties, like Super Zoo has
the networking
a beach
party.
The Hershey has
we got to go to the one
costume parties.
Yes.
So in even All American
Wagon Tails had a party.
Yeah, Wagon Tails had a party.
You own a wagon. I'm not Wagon Tails.
Wagon Tails had a party at an auto museum, like an antique auto museum, and it was really cool. Yeah, and so and the other great thing about these trade shows is traveling. We've got to see some really cool things.
Everybody makes fun of me. If Miranda Simon's watching this, she's going to laugh. She goes, let me ask how many times Holly's going to say that the landscape's beautiful before we get there. Because I do. You guys have seen it. Like, I will cry over how pretty, like, who gets to see these beautiful parts of the United States? Like, when we are just traveling from one destination to the other, it's these untold, beautiful landscapes of the sunrise and sunsets, and what a blessing.
Yeah.
It's so incredible, so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really rejuvenates my soul to get out of the grooming salon. And there's a sense of pride for my clients, right?
Yes.
My staff, me as a boss, when I coach them on whether something is not correct or whatever, there's a respect, because when I'm in the ring, I'm being humbled every couple of weeks, being told, you need to fix this, you need to do this, this wasn't right, this wasn't the right balance, like whatever the case is.
Your Scotty pattern's a great cocker pattern.
Yeah,
that's what I was told once.
Yeah.
Learning.
I love when my favorite is when when I've really screwed up and the judge is just like, keep coming. Keep them coming. Maybe get a lesson, which I've done, and I've met such gracious people.
Yes.
And the judges have been able to network me to other recommendations to help me. And I've done grooms in these last 2 years. Like, I'm starting my third season here in 25 of like what I would consider my full season of like actually going after it. And I've met incredibly talented people, and I've changed in the last 3 years. I have truly changed how I groom by a landslide. I've never changed this much in my career unless it was my first year.
Yeah.
Like, and the other thing with that was that they were like, you should do confirmation. So I now have 2 dogs this year that I'm launching. I just started here right after the new year, showing my Danny Dinmont Terrier, and then I'll be showing a standard poodle this year.
Nice.
Which I'm very excited about. But I love being a part of the AKC ring and getting to see these confirmation, because it's completely changed how I groom. Yeah. It really has. Understanding structure has changed everything about how I groom.
Yeah.
You?
Definitely. And it's what the nice thing is.
And I didn't even know what proper poodle coat was like. I didn't even know there was a proper poodle coat until we were talking about it. Because like scissoring on her dogs versus my little soft pet grooming, poodles, totally different.
Well, I was lucky.
It made a huge challenge for me as a creative groomer.
Yeah.
I had to jump over her hoops for that.
Yeah. I was really lucky because one of my grooming instructors actually used to show and breed Shih Tzus. And
Shih Tzu not?
Yeah, Shih Tzu not. Coming soon. There was she used to show Shih Tzus in the AKC ring. And when I was looking for my poodle, I went to her and was like, hey, Pam, I am looking for a reputable poodle breeder. Who do you recommend? And she sent me to somebody in St. Charles that bred standard poodles. And she they bred and showed and grand championed all their dogs. And when I got mine because he liked to be groomed. I didn't get to pick which dog I got. They were like, this one is yours. This one had I was asked what I want in a dog, what I'm looking for, and my expectations basically.
Yeah.
And then I had to fill out a questionnaire and answer a multiple choice question and hopefully not fail the test.
Like picking a pet dog is much different than taking a potential
I had
show
to sign a whole
prospect.
contract,
Yeah.
you know,
and the contracts are thorough.
yes, it was. And so I ended up with a very nice dog, and it's night and day between him. Yes, it's Rincewind. It's my part.
Yeah.
Rincewind. Stiletto is the color of magic because it was
she has the best dog names.
The kennel name was Stiletto Poodles.
Oh,
so when you were working on Rincewind with me, that was at actually RW Groomex.
Yes.
And that's where you were like, oh, this coat's different.
It was amazing to be able to scissor into a dog and not have it fall. I have soft coated poodles, so they're beautiful pet. They're cuddly and snuggly. Personalities are amazing. I love my breeder. I would recommend her to anybody that's like, please don't get a doodle. Can't have standard poodle, but she breeds for personality and overall healthy structure. But it was so sexy just to be like, yeah, I'm gonna scissor this. And it just stayed. I didn't have to like spray it and lift it and, sculpt it. But yeah, that was really exciting.
Yeah. And so RW Groomex is an independent show. There's
a lot of different kind of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cause that one's run specifically by Ralph Whitman. And then there's also like Windy City,
it's another independent show, which is partnered with the Great American Dog Show.
Yeah.
So there's the AKC and then there's that show.
Yeah. And so, and I know like Teton Grooming Expo is run independently. That's by Quincy Cole.
Yes.
So there's a lot of
and they have a lot of exciting things happening this year. They have an average pet grooming competition that's going to take place, which I'm so excited for. So really happy for the West Coast. At the exact same time, RW Groomex is going to be more in like Midwest, East Coast.
Yeah.
So those two shows will be available at the same time.
Yeah. And I know Barkley has probably the most shows. They are a big run company that has, so they do like Hershey, All-American, like Groom
West, the second largest show.
Groom Texas, Intergroom.
They have a new education only, which is Kansas City. That's coming up.
Yes.
So that one's an education only based one versus like stripping away the competitiveness and focusing on those education, those speakers, bringing people together for networking. They do a lot of networking parties. Yes. And then of course, WPA, World Pet Association.
They do some of the bigger ones.
They're
like
huge.
Super Zoo is an international competition. Yeah. You have people coming all around the world for the jackpot, which is like you breed a dog or groom a dog to breed standard, and it's a $10,000 prize plus a ticket to Groomania.
Yes,
which Groomania is another international competition.
Yes, I believe it was in Italy this last year.
Okay,
so Groomania was Belgium.
It was Belgium. Yes, and then so WPA also does Groomed, formerly Atlanta Pet Fair.
Yes.
And actually Atlanta Pet Fair.
That's where we're going to be here in a couple weeks.
Yes.
It's crazy. That'll be our episode 3 is going to be live from, or not live, but, filmed from
Groomed. And Groomed is actually one of the biggest creative shows now.
Huge.
There's most of the time there's 30 competitors
in
the creative ring. And that's the most you usually will see.
Yeah.
And so that's intense. And then there's also online grooming competitions.
Yeah.
So I know OPAWS does creative online. And there's
each
also
season. So like Valentine's Day is one.
Yeah. And the model dog team, the American model dog team, I can't remember exactly what they're called.
No, it's the North American Model Dog.
Okay. They do online. They do online competitions.
Yeah, but they also, their goal is to travel. Some really exciting opportunities for model dogs. And model dogs are becoming more popular. RW Groomex added model dogs this year. And Super Zoo has model dogs. And at Groomed, I'm really excited. I get to bring a model dog. And from what I understand, I've never done it. But I'm really excited. So I get to compete on Friday twice. And after I get done with all of their purebred, we're supposed to I'm not exactly sure. So don't quote me, but it's something like we pull it out of a hat. I'll let you know on that episode. Because when we film that episode, I'll have already competed in it. But I'm supposed to draw a scenario out of a hat and then make it come to life on the model dog.
Okay, that'd be cool.
So I'm really excited. I'm just really excited. And then I think that Quincy Cole added something.
Yeah.
So that's like a
Charm
really
City
fun
just-
emerging one.
Yeah, Charm City
with
just
model
did their
dogs.
competition and they had model dogs.
Yeah. And not all model dogs are created equal. I use the ones from alspet.us.
Yeah.
So
Opaz has model dogs.
Opaz does. Artero does.
Yes.
Artero released some.
And there was a school that I can't remember. I bought mine off of a Grooming Academy website, and I can't remember which one.
There's
it was.
one out of Vietnam that reached out to me.
Yeah.
They were like, giving me a ton of stuff on that.
Yeah, because this was like,
I'm really happy with my A-list ones, and they come in like, you can hand strip the Schnauzer ones.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like there's a hand strip Schnauzer. You can get like a Bichon one. You put in different buttons and eyes, and I mean, model dogs get crazy cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
And so this is all we have time for today.
Yes.
Yes.
This was an amazing first episode. I'm so glad you guys joined us.
Yeah. So if you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, definitely like comment.
Yes.
Like, share.
We're
send us
fan base
messages.
influenced.
Yeah. Like let us know what you want to hear, what kind of topics you want us to talk about, and we'll definitely reach out and try to incorporate some of that into here.
I will pitch on one of our next episode. We are going to be releasing something called Shih Tzu Not. You can say it better than I can.
Shih Tzu Not.
Yeah, she says it better than I do. But that episode is going to be, so that segment is going to be sponsored by All for Groomers, which we're so excited to have a sponsored episode. And with that being said, if you have some crazy Karen client or co-groomer story that you feel like you want to get off your chest, we can highlight you. So don't be afraid to put groomerontheloose@gmail.com. And you can write to us. We're reading those for you. And we would love to hear your crazy Karen stories. Yeah. So those are going to be on future episodes as well.
Yeah. And so on our next episode, we will have a guest speaker. We were talking about bringing on Ralph Whitman. He runs RW Groomex, which is a trade show that will be happening in May.
Yes.
And we are actually teaching at that show.
Yes. We have a certificate course.
Nice.
Yes. So I'll be teaching, it's a 2-part session. So the first 3 hours are with me. We're going to talk color lifting. So we're going to go over rad foils. You're going to actually get a hands-on portion where you have to color lift pet hair. And so we're going to go over that portion and talk about safety, and then just proper techniques, like good foiling techniques, and things that you can do to protect the pet while color lifting to get a beautiful vibration. We'll talk about lifting to the appropriate levels to then do color theory.
Yeah, color theory. And it's not just the color wheel and complementary and secondary and what a monochromatic means and all that. It's not just that. It's also how that interprets to hair and
dog hair.
Dog hair and canceling out color because dog hair is not always white.
Yeah. Like my black standard poodle does not lift to white.
Yeah.
Right? She's going to lift to a certain level.
Yeah.
And Alicia will go over that.
Yeah. So also in the next episode, we're going to be talking about teaching in the industry and what it's like as educators, what it like passions for it, what it does, like what your goals are for that. Also, we're going to talk about holidays. Do you celebrate holidays? How does that work?
Do you do Valentine's Day?
Yeah. How does that work in your salon? Like, when do you switch your bows and your bandanas? How far in advance?
I celebrate Valentine's Day at a different time that you did.
Yeah.
And same thing with St. Patty's. I do St. Patrick's Day. I am Irish. I get that the Irish is not authentic. I don't care. I mean, for Pete's sake, Chicago dyes are river green.
Yes,
like,
we do.
Not everybody celebrates every holiday.
Yeah.
So when do you do it? How far out in advance do you start promoting that holiday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we will also talk into like seasonal differences in groomers across the states. Like we're Midwest groomers and we have different problems than Southern groomers who have different problems than Western groomers who have different problems than Northeast groomers.
Yeah. So whenever I would travel to like St. Louis in April, they're like 3 weeks in front of us in spring, like a 10-hour drive south. So like the experiences and things that I have to groom and handle are vastly different from what you have to handle, time-wise when it comes to spring specifically, because of how fast our springs go.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I'm really excited to share all that information and
hopefully we will see you there on episode 2 coming out in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much for watching Groomer on the Loose with your host. I'm Holly Baker.
I'm Alicia Milek.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.